The metal floor of New Seoul Station was cold beneath Daeho's hands. He sat there holding two pieces of what used to be his cane and tried not to cry. 16 years old, and he was sitting on the floor like a child. But without his cane, he might as well have been a child. The station was too big, too loud, too full of people who didn't care about one blind human boy. The white cane had been with him for 3 years. It wasn't fancy, just a simple folding stick that helped him find his way through the massive space station. Now it was broken, snapped in half by 3 alien thugs who thought it was funny to hurt someone who couldn't fight back. Daeho could still hear them laughing as they walked away. The Vrellans had voices like gravel scraping on metal. They were big, almost 7 feet tall, with scales that clicked when they moved. He'd bumped into one of them by accident while carrying a package for Mrs. Han, the merchant who sometimes gave him work. "Watch where you're going. Human trash," the Vrellan had said. Daeho had apologized. He always apologized. That was how you survived on the station when you were human and blind and alone. You made yourself small. You said sorry even when it wasn't your fault. You didn't make trouble. But the Vrellan had grabbed his arm anyway. "What's in the package?" "Just fabric samples for the merchant on level 7, Daeho had said, keeping his voice steady. "Nothing valuable." The alien had squeezed his arm hard enough to bruise. "Let me see." When Daeho refused, trying to protect the package Mrs. Han had trusted him with, the other 2 Vrellans had surrounded him. One of them had ripped the package from his hands and opened it. Finding only cloth inside, they'd gotten angry. One shoved him hard. Daeho stumbled and his cane clattered to the floor. "Pathetic," one of them had said, picking up the cane. "Look at this primitive stick. Is this really all you humans can make?" Then he'd snapped it, just like that. Broke it over his knee and tossed the pieces at Daeho's feet. The 3 Vrellans had laughed and walked away, leaving him alone in the middle of the busy corridor. That was 20 minutes ago. Maybe longer. Daeho had lost track of time. People kept walking past him. He could hear them, feel the vibrations of their steps through the metal floor. Different species, different sizes, all going about their business. Nobody stopped. Nobody asked if he needed help. A few times someone actually stepped over him like he was just another piece of trash on the floor. This was life on New Seoul Station. This was what it meant to be human in a galaxy where humans ranked somewhere near the bottom, below the powerful Vrellans, below the rich Telkari traders, below almost everyone. Humans were the newcomers, the weak ones, the species that other aliens could push around without consequences. Daeho's fingers tightened around the broken cane pieces. He wanted to scream. He wanted to find those Vrellans and make them pay. But what could he do? He was blind and alone and 16 years old. He couldn't even find his way back to his tiny room in the orphan quarters without help. The orphanage. He hated that word. It made him sound like a child, but technically that's what he was. His parents had died when their colony transport crashed 5 years ago. He'd been 11, newly blind from the same accident that killed them. The station had taken him in because there was nowhere else to go. They gave him a small room, basic food, and nothing else. Everything else he had to earn himself. That's why he ran errands for people like Mrs. Han. A few credits here and there, enough to buy better food sometimes, or save up for things he needed. The cane had taken him months to save for. Now it was broken, and he didn't have enough credits to buy a new one. Daeho felt something wet on his cheek. He was crying after all. He wiped it away quickly, angry at himself. Crying didn't help. Crying didn't change anything. "Are you all right?" The voice made Daeho jump. It was speaking Korean, which was strange. Most people on the station spoke Galactic Standard, and the voice was close, right next to him, like someone had knelt down beside him. "I'm fine," Daeho said automatically. It was a lie, but it was easier than explaining. "No, you're not." The voice was male, probably an adult. There was something about it that was different from most people Daeho met. It was calm but had an edge to it, like controlled anger. "What happened to your cane?" "It broke," Daeho said. "I can see that." "How did it break?" Daeho hesitated. Should he tell the truth? Would it matter? The station security didn't care when humans complained about aliens. They'd just say it was his word against theirs, and who would believe a blind boy? But something about this stranger's voice made him answer honestly. 3 Vrellans broke it. They were angry because I wouldn't give them the package I was carrying. The air around him seemed to change. The stranger was quiet for a moment, and Daeho could almost feel the anger radiating from him. Not anger at Daeho, but anger for him, When did this happen? The stranger asked. About 20 minutes ago. Maybe more. Where did they go? I don't know. I can't see. Another pause. Then a hand touched his arm, gentle but firm. Let me help you up. The stranger pulled him to his feet. Deho stood there, still holding the broken pieces of his cane, feeling lost. Without it, he couldn't navigate the station. He couldn't work. He couldn't do anything. What's your name? The stranger asked. Deho. Deho, I'm going to give you something. Hold out your hand. Deho obeyed, letting the broken cane pieces fall to the floor. The stranger placed something in his palm. It was metal, smooth and warm, about the same length as his old cane. But it felt different, expensive, advanced. The moment Deho's fingers closed around it, the rod hummed. He felt it vibrate softly, then extend to exactly the right length. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was what happened next. Suddenly Deho could see, not with his eyes. Those were still damaged, still useless. But through the cane somehow he could sense everything around him. The walls, the floor, the people walking past. It was like someone had painted a picture in his mind. A three-dimensional map of the entire corridor. He could see the stranger kneeling beside him. Could sense the outline of his body, the way he held himself like someone who knew how to fight. What is this? Deho whispered, his voice shaking. Military-grade human technology, the stranger said. Haptic feedback, spatial mapping, neural interface. It connects directly to your nervous system and translates sensor data into something your brain can understand. With this, you'll see better than most people with working eyes. Deho couldn't breathe. He turned his head and the map in his mind turned with him. He could see people walking, could sense their shapes and movements. He could see the broken pieces of his old cane on the floor. He could see everything. This is too expensive, Deho said. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. The stranger's voice was firm. Consider it a gift, but why? You don't even know me. The stranger stood up. Deho could sense him doing it, could feel the movement through his incredible new cane. The man was tall, strong, and there was something about the way he moved that reminded Deho of soldiers in old videos. The stranger leaned close. His voice dropped to almost a whisper, but every word was clear and sharp as broken glass. Remember their faces. Deho froze. I'm blind. I can't remember faces I never saw. Not anymore, the stranger said. That cane just scanned and recorded everyone within 50 meters of you, including those 3 Vrellans. The data is already uploaded and stored somewhere safe. You're not helpless anymore, Deho. Remember that. Before Deho could respond, before he could ask any of the 1,000 questions flooding his mind, the stranger was gone. Deho sensed him walking away, disappearing into the crowd of people moving through the station. Deho stood there alone, holding a piece of technology that was probably worth more than everything he'd ever owned combined. His mind was still reeling from the sensation of seeing through the cane, from the stranger's words, from everything that had just happened. Remember their faces. 3 words, 3 simple words that somehow felt like a promise and a threat at the same time. Deho picked up his old broken cane from the floor and threw it in a nearby trash unit. He didn't need it anymore. With his new cane, he could sense the exact location of the trash unit, could feel its outline in his mind as clearly as if he could see it with his own eyes. He started walking, testing his new ability with each step. The world had changed. In the span of 20 minutes, he'd gone from helpless to powerful, from victim to something else. Something that could remember faces. Something that wouldn't forget. Deho couldn't sleep that night. He lay in his small bed in the orphan quarters, holding the cane the stranger had given him, watching the world through closed eyes. Even now, hours later, the sensation was overwhelming. He could sense the dimensions of his tiny room, could feel the walls around him, could detect the faint vibrations of people moving in the rooms next to his. It was like being given sight after years of darkness, except better. This wasn't just seeing. This was understanding. The cane sent information directly into his brain, translating sensor data into a mental map that was clearer and more detailed than any vision he remembered from before the accident. He sat up and activated the cane's interface. He didn't know how he knew how to do it. The device seemed to understand his intentions, responding to thoughts more than physical commands. A holographic display appeared in front of him, visible only through the cane's connection to his mind. The display showed files, recordings, data streams. and a message notification that was blinking, waiting for him to open it. Daeho hesitated. Part of him wanted to pretend none of this was real. He could sell the cane, get enough credits to live comfortably for years. He could go back to being invisible, staying out of trouble, surviving day by day like he always had. But he knew he wouldn't do that. The stranger's words kept echoing in his mind. Remember their faces. Those 3 words carried weight, carried meaning that Daeho was only beginning to understand. He opened the message. A holographic figure appeared in his mind's eye. It was the stranger from the corridor, but now Daeho could see him clearly. The man was Korean, probably in his early 30s, with short dark hair and sharp features. But what caught Daeho's attention was what he was wearing. A uniform. Not just any uniform, but military dress with insignia that Daeho recognized from old videos about Earth. UTF. United Terran Forces. The human military, but there was more. The rank insignia on the uniform indicated this wasn't some low-level soldier. This was a commander, an officer in special operations. The holographic figure began to speak. Hello, Daeho. My name is Hyunwoo. If you're seeing this message, it means you've made it back to your quarters safely, and you figured out how to access the Kane's systems. That's good. It means you're smart and adaptable. I thought you might be. Hyunwoo's image walked to the side and new holograms appeared beside him. Documents, maps, photographs of aliens that Daeho didn't recognize. I'm going to tell you some things that most humans don't know. Things that the galactic community doesn't know. But first, I need to explain why I gave you that cane and what I meant when I told you to remember their faces. The hologram changed to show the 3 Vrellans who had broken Daeho's cane. The image was incredibly detailed, captured from the cane's sensors during those terrible moments in the corridor. Daeho could see their scale patterns, the scarring on their faces, every detail that made them unique. These 3 Vrellans are part of a criminal organization called the Syndicate. Hyunwoo continued. They operate on stations like this one, targeting humans and other species they consider weak. Over the past year, they've attacked 47 humans on New Seoul Station alone. 3 of those humans died from their injuries. 2 were children. Daeho felt his chest tighten. Children. They'd killed children, and nobody had done anything about it. The station security knows about them, Hyunwoo said, and his voice carried barely controlled anger. But the Vrellans pay bribes and they have powerful connections. The station authorities won't touch them. To them, it's easier to let a few humans get hurt than to cause problems with alien crime families. The hologram changed again, showing images of Hyunwoo in different locations around the station, always in civilian clothes, always watching and recording. I've been stationed here undercover for 6 months investigating the syndicate. They're not just attacking people. They're trafficking human orphans from outer colonies, selling them to labor operations in systems where nobody asks questions. Your orphanage, Daeho, is one of their targets. In 3 weeks, they plan to raid it and take 12 children. The room suddenly felt very cold. Daeho had known life on the station was hard, had known that humans were treated badly. But this was different. This was organized evil, and it was coming for the only home he had. I can't stop them officially, Hyunwoo said. If I reveal who I am and what I know, it becomes a diplomatic incident. The Vrellan government would accuse Earth of spying, and the whole operation would collapse. Worse, they'd move their trafficking operation somewhere else, and we'd lose our chance to destroy it completely. Hyunwoo's image looked directly at Daeho, and even though it was just a recording, Daeho felt like the man could see him. But there's another way. If a civilian presses charges with proper evidence, if that civilian has documentation of crimes committed against them, then station law requires an investigation. And if that investigation happens to uncover larger crimes, well, that's just good police work. Daeho understood what Hyunwoo was suggesting. He was being asked to be bait, to be the catalyst that would bring down the entire operation. The cane I gave you is worth more than you can imagine, Hyunwoo said. It's military technology that hasn't been released to the public yet. It records everything it senses, stores it in encrypted formats, and transmits that data to secure servers. Since the moment I gave it to you, it's been documenting everything around you. Every person you pass, every conversation you hear, every detail of life on this station. The hologram showed streams of data, more information than Daeho could process. The cane had been recording constantly, capturing everything. But it's more than just a recording device, Hyunwoo continued. It's a weapon. Not in the obvious way, but in the way that knowledge is a weapon. Information is a weapon, and now you have both. New images appeared showing technical readouts and specifications that Deho didn't fully understand. But he got the basic idea. The cane could do things that seemed impossible. It could hack into station systems, could detect lies based on biological readings, could even defend him if necessary. Here's what I'm offering you, Deho. You can keep the cane and walk away. Use it to make your life easier. And I'll find another way to handle the syndicate. No one will blame you. You've already been hurt enough. Hyunwoo paused and his expression became harder. Or you can help me. You can gather evidence, document crimes, and be ready to testify when the time comes. But I need you to understand what that means. If you choose this path, those Vrellans will come after you again. The syndicate doesn't forgive people who make trouble. You'll be in danger. The hologram changed one last time, showing a different set of images. These were humans, young and old, all with the same determined expression. They wore UTF uniforms, but there was something different about them. These are people like you, Hyunwoo said. People who were victims, who were attacked and hurt and left for dead by aliens who thought humans were too weak to matter. Every one of them chose to fight back. Every one of them is now part of something bigger. Deho stared at the images, his heart pounding. I can't tell you everything, not yet, Hyunwoo said. But I can tell you this. Humanity has been playing a long game, Deho. For 50 years we've been underestimated and pushed around. And for 50 years we've been preparing. We've been developing technology in secret, training soldiers, building networks across the galaxy. We've been waiting for the right moment. Hyunwoo's image smiled, and it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited a long time for revenge. That moment is coming soon. And when it does, the galaxy is going to learn something important about humans. We don't forget, we don't forgive, and we protect our children. The hologram began to fade, but Hyunwoo's voice continued. The choice is yours, Deho. If you want to help, be at the cargo bay on level 12 tomorrow at noon. Come alone and bring the cane. If you don't show up, I'll understand. Either way, you're safe. The cane is yours to keep, and it will protect you. The message ended. The hologram disappeared, leaving Deho alone in his dark room with a piece of military technology in his hands and a choice that would change his life. He thought about the 3 Vrellans laughing as they broke his cane. He thought about the 47 humans they'd attacked. He thought about the 3 who had died, including 2 children who had probably been scared and alone, just like him. He thought about the 12 orphans who would be taken in 3 weeks if nobody stopped it. Deho stood up and walked to his small window. Through the cane's sensors, he could see the vast expanse of New Sol Station spreading out before him. Millions of beings living their lives, and somewhere among them were the people who thought they could hurt humans without consequences. Remember their faces. Deho smiled in the darkness. It wasn't a happy smile. It was something colder, something that surprised him. He'd always thought of himself as a victim, as someone who survived by staying small and quiet. But maybe that was going to change. He would go to level 12 tomorrow. He would meet Hyunwoo, and he would help bring down the monsters who hurt his people. The galaxy thought humans were weak. Deho was starting to think they were very, very wrong. The cargo bay on level 12 was supposed to be abandoned. That's what the station records said, at least. But as Deho walked through the entrance at exactly noon, his cane told him a different story. The space was being used for something, and recently, he could sense fresh footprints in the dust, equipment that had been moved, signs of activity that the official records didn't mention. You came. Hyunwoo's voice echoed from somewhere ahead. I wasn't sure you would. Deho walked forward carefully, his cane painting a detailed map of the large room in his mind. He could sense Hyunwoo standing near the center, alone as far as the sensors could tell. You said children were going to be taken, Deho said. How could I not come? Hyunwoo stepped closer, and Deho could sense him nodding with approval. Good answer. But before we go any further, I need to know you understand what you're agreeing to. This isn't a game, Deho. The syndicate kills people who get in their way. They've already killed people, Deho replied. 3 humans on this station alone. How many more across the galaxy? More than you want to know. Hyunwoo's voice was grim. The trafficking operation runs through 17 stations and 12 colony worlds. They've taken hundreds of humans over the past 5 years. Most are never seen again. Deho felt sick. Hundreds of people. Hundreds of lives destroyed. and the galaxy just looked the other way because humans weren't important enough to matter. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Instead of answering immediately, Hyunwoo walked to a wall panel and activated something. Suddenly, the entire cargo bay lit up with holographic displays. Daeho could sense them appearing all around him. Dozens of screens showing information, maps, photographs, and data streams. "First, you need to understand the full picture," Hyunwoo said. "The 3 Vrellans who attacked you are small players. They work for a boss named Rax who runs the Syndicate's operations on New Sol Station. Rax answers to someone even higher up, and it goes all the way to the Vrellan Council itself." The holograms shifted, showing organizational charts that connected criminals to government officials, tracing lines of money and power that spread across multiple star systems. "This is bigger than just the station," Hyunwoo continued. "This is corruption at the highest levels of alien government. And that's why we can't just arrest a few thugs and call it done. We need evidence that connects everything together. We need to catch them in the act." Daeho walked closer to the displays, his cane allowing him to examine each one in detail. "And you want me to help gather that evidence?" "Yes, but not alone." Hyunwoo gestured, and a door at the far end of the cargo bay opened. Through his cane, Daeho sensed 6 people entering. They were all human, all moving with the same controlled precision as Hyunwoo. "Soldiers. This is my team," Hyunwoo said. "They've been working undercover on the station, tracking the Syndicate's movements and building our case. I want you to meet them." The soldiers approached, and one by one they introduced themselves. There was Hana, a woman in her 20s who specialized in electronic surveillance. Taemin, a big man who handled security. Young-soo, who could hack into almost any system. And 3 others whose names and specialties blurred together in Daeho's nervous mind. What struck him most was how normal they looked. In their civilian clothes, they could have been merchants or station workers. Nobody would guess they were Special Forces operatives. "We've been watching the Syndicate for months," Hana said. "We know where they operate, who they work with, and how they move their victims off the station. What we don't have is evidence that would hold up in Galactic Court. They're too careful." "That's where you come in," Hyunwoo said. "You're a victim. You have legal standing to press charges for the attack. And once there's an official investigation, we can use that as cover to dig deeper." Daeho understood the plan. He would be the public face while Hyunwoo's team worked behind the scenes. But there was something else bothering him, something he'd been thinking about since watching Hyunwoo's message. "Why are you really here?" Daeho asked. "The UTF doesn't send special operations teams to deal with local crime. There's something bigger happening, isn't there?" Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "You're smarter than I thought. Yes, there's something bigger. Come here. I want to show you something." He led Daeho to a specific holographic display. This one showed a map of known space, with Earth at the center and thousands of stars spreading out in all directions. 50 years ago, humans made first contact with aliens, Hyunwoo said. "We were so excited. We thought we were joining a great galactic community, that we'd be welcomed as equals. We were wrong. The map changed, showing incidents marked in red across hundreds of worlds. Each mark represented an attack, an injustice, or a crime committed against humans. We quickly learned that the galaxy has a hierarchy," Hyunwoo continued. "At the top are species like the Vrellans, the Telkari, and the Karathi. They've been spacefaring for thousands of years. They have powerful militaries and rich economies. And at the bottom are species like us, the newcomers. The weak ones." Daeho stared at the map. There were so many red marks, so many humans hurt across so many worlds. "For 50 years we've been pushed around," Hyunwoo said, his voice hard. "Cheated in trade deals. Attacked by alien criminals, forced into bad treaties. Our colonies raided, our people trafficked, our complaints ignored. The galactic community treated us like primitive children who should be grateful just to be allowed in space. So we decided to change that," Young-soo added. "But not by fighting. Not at first. We decided to be patient, to learn, to prepare." The map changed again, now showing different markers in blue. These represented Earth facilities, research stations, and military installations that Daeho had never heard of. "While the aliens were laughing at us, we were working," Hyunwoo said. "We took their technology and improved it. We studied their tactics and developed counters. We built weapons and ships that they don't know exist. And most importantly, we documented everything they did to us. Every attack. Every crime. Every broken treaty." Hana pulled up another display. "We've been gathering evidence for decades. We have proof of thousands of crimes committed against human citizens by alien governments and organizations. War crimes, trafficking, slavery, murder, all documented and verified. Why? Deho asked. Why gather all this evidence if you weren't going to use it? Because we were waiting for the right moment, Hyunwoo said. We're not conquerors, Deho. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want the aliens to stop treating us like we're worthless. And the only way to do that is to show them we're not weak, that we're not helpless, that there are consequences for hurting humans. The cargo bay went quiet. Deho stood there processing everything he'd just learned. The UTF wasn't just investigating crime on one station. They were preparing for something much bigger, something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy. When? Deho asked. When is this going to happen? Soon, Hyunwoo said. Very soon. We're almost ready. We just need a few more pieces in place. The Syndicate is one of those pieces. If we can expose them, show that their corruption goes all the way to alien governments, it gives us the justification we need. Justification for what? Hyunwoo looked at him directly. For demanding a new treaty. For requiring the galactic community to recognize human rights and enforce laws that protect our citizens. And if they refuse, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Deho understood. If the aliens refused, humanity was ready to enforce those protections themselves. The cane I gave you is part of this, Hyunwoo said. It's technology that's decades ahead of what aliens think we're capable of. When you use it publicly, when people see what it can do, they'll start to question their assumptions about humanity. They'll wonder what else we've been hiding. Deho touched the cane, feeling its warmth against his palm. It wasn't just a tool to help him see. It was a statement. A message to the galaxy that humans were more than they appeared. I'll help, Deho said. Tell me what to do. Hyunwoo smiled. First, we're going to train you. That cane has combat capabilities you haven't discovered yet. If you're going to confront the Syndicate, you need to know how to defend yourself. Over the next week, Deho learned things he never imagined possible. The cane could extend into a staff. It could deliver electric shocks to attackers. It could hack electronic locks and disable security systems. Most importantly, it could help him fight despite his blindness. Taemin taught him basic self-defense, showing him how the cane's sensors could predict an opponent's movements before they happened. Hana showed him how to use the device to record evidence without anyone knowing. Youngsoo explained how it connected to station systems, feeding him information about everything happening around him. But it was Hyunwoo who taught him the most important lesson. You're not a victim anymore, Hyunwoo said during one training session. The moment you accepted that cane, you became something else. You became a witness, a recorder of truth, and truth is the most powerful weapon we have. On the 7th day, Hyunwoo called Deho back to the cargo bay. It's time, he said. Tomorrow, you're going to file formal charges against the 3 Vrellans. The cane recorded everything, so you have evidence. Station security will have to investigate. The station security office was on level 5 and Deho had never been inside before. He'd never had reason to. Humans who filed complaints usually got nowhere, so most didn't bother trying. But today was different. Today he had evidence, and more importantly, he had Hyunwoo's team watching everything from the shadows. The security officer was a Karathi, a species known for being bureaucratic and neutral. His name was something Deho couldn't pronounce, so he just called him Officer as he presented his complaint. You're saying 3 Vrellans attacked you and destroyed your property? The officer asked, his translator making his voice sound bored. Yes, sir. 8 days ago in the main corridor on level 3. They broke my cane and threatened me when I was carrying a package for a merchant. The officer looked at Deho's new cane. That doesn't look broken. This is a replacement. I have recordings from the incident stored in this device's memory. Would you like to see them? That got the officer's attention. Most humans didn't have recording equipment. The fact that Deho did meant this wasn't going to be as easy to dismiss as usual. The officer took the data chip Deho offered and plugged it into his terminal. For several minutes, he watched the recording in silence. Deho couldn't see the officer's face, but his cane could sense the alien's posture changing, becoming more tense. This is clear evidence of assault and property destruction, the officer finally said. I'll open an official investigation. Can you identify the attackers? Yes, the recording includes biometric data. I can provide their physical descriptions and identification markers. The officer worked on his terminal for a while longer. Then he looked up at Daeho, and even through the alien features, Daeho could sense something like surprise. These three Vrellans have previous complaints filed against them. Multiple complaints. But none of the cases went anywhere because there was never enough evidence. Well, now there is, Daeho said quietly. The officer printed out some documents and handed them to Daeho. You'll need to testify before a station magistrate. The hearing will be in 3 days. Do you understand what you're doing, young human? These Vrellans have connections. Powerful connections. I understand, Daeho said. I'm doing it anyway. The officer stared at him for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He stood up and offered a small bow of respect. Then I will do my job properly, he said. The law is the law, regardless of who breaks it. Daeho left the security office feeling a strange mixture of fear and satisfaction. He'd done it. He'd officially filed charges. Now there was no going back. His cane buzzed softly, a signal from Hyunwoo. The message was simple, well done. Now be careful. The syndicate's response came faster than expected. That same evening, while Daeho was walking back to his quarters, 3 figures blocked his path. Not the same Vrellans who had attacked him before, but different ones. Bigger ones. You made a mistake, human, one of them growled. You filed charges against our associates. That was very stupid. Daeho's cane was already recording everything, feeding data to Hyunwoo's team. He kept his voice steady. They broke the law. I reported it. That's how justice works, the Vrellan laughed. Justice? There's no justice for humans who make trouble. Drop the charges tomorrow or you'll learn what real trouble feels like. No, Daeho said. The aliens seemed surprised. Apparently they weren't used to humans refusing them. What did you say? I said no. I'm not dropping the charges. One of the Vrellans stepped forward, reaching out to grab Daeho, but the cane sensors had already detected the movement, warning Daeho a fraction of a second before it happened. He stepped back smoothly and the alien's hand closed on empty air. Don't touch me, Daeho said. This cane is recording everything. If you assault me, that's another crime added to the list. The Vrellans hesitated. They'd been sent to intimidate, not to create more evidence against their organization. After a few more threats that Daeho ignored, they left. His cane buzzed again. Hyunwoo's message said, perfect. They're getting desperate. Be ready. Over the next 2 days, the syndicate tried everything. They offered Daeho money to drop the charges. They threatened the merchants who gave him work. They even tried to have him evicted from the orphan quarters, but every attempt was recorded, documented, and added to the growing evidence file. On the morning of the hearing, Daeho woke to find a message from Hyunwoo. Today is the day. Don't go to the hearing. Instead, go to the cargo market on level 8 at noon. Trust me. Daeho didn't understand, but he trusted Hyunwoo. Instead of going to the magistrate's office, he went to the cargo market. It was a busy area where merchants traded goods, full of people and activity. A good place to disappear in the crowd. At exactly noon, Daeho sensed movement around him. The 3 original Vrellans who had broken his cane were nearby, watching him. They'd been following him. His cane vibrated. A message from Hyunwoo appeared in his mind. They're planning to grab you and take you somewhere quiet. Let them follow you. Lead them to Bay 17. We'll be waiting. Daeho's heart raced, but he did as instructed. He walked through the market, pretending to browse goods, slowly making his way toward the cargo bays. The Vrellans followed, staying back but clearly tracking him. Bay 17 was supposed to be empty, marked for maintenance. Daeho walked inside and the door closed behind him with a heavy clank. The Vrellans entered a moment later, grinning with anticipation. All alone now, little human, one of them said. No witnesses. No cameras. Just you and us. You thought you could make trouble for us? Another snarled. You thought your primitive recording would matter? We own this station. We own the magistrates. We own everything. Daeho stood his ground. You're wrong. About what? About being alone. About no cameras. And about owning everything. The cargo bay lights suddenly blazed to full brightness. The Vrellan spun around, confused, as the large bay doors began to open. Hyunwoo stepped out of the shadows, but he wasn't alone. Behind him came 20 human soldiers in full combat gear, weapons that made the Vrellan's equipment look like toys. They moved with perfect precision, surrounding the 3 aliens in seconds. But that wasn't what made the Vrellans freeze in terror. It was what Hyunwoo was wearing. Not civilian clothes anymore, but a full UTF Special Operations uniform, with rank insignia clearly visible. My name is Commander Hyun-woo of the United Terran Forces, he said, his voice cold and hard. You have attacked 47 human citizens on this station. You have killed 3. You have engaged in human trafficking, extortion, assault, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Under Galactic Law Article 77, these crimes permit military intervention to protect endangered citizens. One of the Vrellans laughed nervously. You can't do this. You're not station security. You have no authority here. Hyun-woo pulled out a datapad and held it up. This is a warrant issued by the Galactic Peacekeeping Council. It authorizes the UTF to conduct operations against organizations engaged in systematic crimes against human populations. Your syndicate qualifies. As of this moment, you are under arrest. The Vrellans looked at each other. Then incredibly, they laughed. You think we're afraid of human soldiers? Your species is weak. Everyone knows it. You have no power here. Hyun-woo's expression didn't change. Taemin, please demonstrate our lack of power. The big soldier Dae-ho had trained with stepped forward. He was carrying a weapon that looked deceptively simple, like a basic plasma rifle. He aimed it at an empty cargo container across the bay and fired once. The container didn't just get hit. It disintegrated. One moment it was there, a solid mass of metal weighing several tons. The next moment it was vapor. The silence that followed was absolute. That's a Class 7 disintegration rifle, Hyun-woo said calmly. It exists because human scientists decided that Class 6 wasn't efficient enough. We have ships with weapons that make this look like a toy. We have armor that your weapons can't penetrate. We have technology that's decades ahead of what you think we're capable of. He walked toward the Vrellans and they actually stepped back. For 50 years, we let you think we were weak. We let you push us around, hurt our people, treat us like we didn't matter. And all that time, we were watching, recording, preparing, building evidence against every organization, every government, every individual who thought it was acceptable to harm humans. Hyun-woo stopped directly in front of the 3 aliens. You asked if we have authority here? I have authorization from Earth's government, approved by the Galactic Council to protect human citizens by any means necessary. That includes military action. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to surrender peacefully. You're going to testify against your superiors in the syndicate, and you're going to spend a very long time in a very unpleasant prison. And if we refuse, one Vrellan managed to say. Hyun-woo smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then we'll demonstrate just how much power we actually have. Your choice. Make it now. The Vrellans looked at the weapons pointed at them, at the soldiers who stood ready to use them, at the smoking remains of the cargo container. They looked at each other. Then slowly they knelt and put their hands behind their heads. Hyun-woo's team moved in, securing the prisoners with efficiency that spoke of long training. The whole thing took less than 30 seconds. The arrest of the 3 Vrellans was broadcast live across every screen on New Seoul Station. Not just the arrest itself, but everything leading up to it. The original attack on Dae-ho, the threats and intimidation attempts, the confession in the cargo bay about owning the station. All of it in perfect clarity, recorded by technology that most aliens didn't know humans possessed. The station erupted in chaos. Within hours, the Vrellan Syndicate issued demands for the release of their members. Station security, suddenly backed into a corner by public evidence they couldn't ignore, had to actually do their jobs. And most shocking of all, humans across the station started walking differently, standing straighter, looking aliens in the eye instead of looking down. Dae-ho watched it all from the security of Hyun-woo's cargo bay headquarters, which had transformed from an empty space into a full military command center almost overnight. He was starting to understand that everything he'd experienced over the past 2 weeks had been carefully planned, not just by Hyun-woo but by people much higher up in Earth's government. You used me, Dae-ho said. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact. Hyun-woo looked up from a tactical display he'd been studying. Yes, I did. Are you angry about that? Dae-ho thought about it. A week ago, he would have been. But now, after seeing what his involvement had accomplished, he wasn't sure. You could have told me the whole plan from the beginning, he said. No, I couldn't. Your reactions needed to be genuine. If you'd known we were watching, if you'd known the Syndicate's attempts to intimidate you were being recorded, you would have acted differently. The evidence needed to be real. So everything since you gave me the cane was theater. Not everything. Hyun-woo walked over and sat down next to him. The cane is real. The training was real. My offer to let you walk away was real. You chose to help, Deho. Nobody forced you, that was true. Deho had made the choice himself. What happens next? He asked. As if in answer, alarms began blaring across the station. Hyunwoo's expression hardened as he checked his displays. They're here, he said, faster than I expected. Who's here? The Syndicate's response. They just sent a warship to the station. They're demanding the immediate release of their people, and they're threatening to blockade the station if we don't comply. Deho felt his stomach drop. A warship. Because of him. Because of what he'd done. Hyunwoo must have seen his expression because he put a hand on his shoulder. This isn't your fault. They were always going to do this eventually. You just gave us the justification we needed to respond. Respond how? We're on a civilian station. There are millions of people here. Hyunwoo smiled. Watch and learn. He activated the main display, and suddenly Deho could see what was happening in space around the station. The Vrellan warship was large, bristling with weapons, and it was moving into position to blockade the station's main docking ports. But as Deho watched, other ships appeared. Human ships decloaking from stealth systems that made them invisible until they wanted to be seen. There were 5 of them, smaller than the Vrellan warship but somehow more dangerous looking. Sleeker, more advanced. The Vrellan commander's face appeared on the display, speaking in heavily accented Galactic Standard. This is Captain Raxer of the Syndicate Defense Fleet. We demand the immediate release of our crew members who were unlawfully detained by human military forces. You have 1 hour to comply or we will take action. A different voice responded, calm and professional. It was a woman speaking from one of the human ships. This is Captain Jiwoo of the UTF destroyer Indomitable. The individuals you referred to are being held on multiple charges including assault, murder, human trafficking, and conspiracy. They will be tried under galactic law. We will not release them. You dare to defy us? 1 human destroyer against a syndicate warship? Actually, Captain Jiwoo said, and Deho could hear the smile in her voice. It's 5 human destroyers against 1 syndicate warship. And these aren't ordinary destroyers, Captain Raxer. These are ships designed specifically to handle threats against human citizens. Would you like a demonstration? You're bluffing. Human ships are inferior to ours. Everyone knows this. Everyone is wrong. Target lock on your weapon systems initiated. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and withdraw, or we will remove them for you. Raxer laughed. You think you can destroy our weapons without hitting the station? The station is directly behind us. If you fire, you'll kill thousands of civilians. We won't miss, Jiwoo said simply. Impossible. No species has that kind of precision at this range. 20 seconds. Deho watched as the Vrellan captain's expression changed from arrogant to uncertain. He was looking at his own tactical display, seeing something that bothered him. 10 seconds. This is an act of war, Raxer shouted. No, this is an act of law enforcement. 5, 4, 3. The Vrellan warship's weapons powered down. On the display, Deho could see the energy signatures dropping to safe levels. Wise choice, Jiwoo said. Now withdraw to beyond the station's jurisdiction or we will escort you out. And Captain Raxer? Every weapon system on your ship is now being tracked by targeting solutions that can remove them individually, without causing collateral damage. We can do this because human technology is far more advanced than you thought possible. Remember that the next time you consider threatening human citizens. The Vrellan warship retreated. Slowly, reluctantly, but it retreated. The command center erupted in quiet celebration. Hyunwoo's team exchanged satisfied looks and several of them clapped Deho on the shoulder as if he'd personally driven off the warship. What just happened? Deho asked. History, Hyunwoo said. For the first time since humans entered galactic space, we just told an alien military force to back down and they did. That video is going to spread across the entire galaxy in a matter of hours. Everyone is going to see it. Everyone is going to know that humans aren't helpless anymore. Over the next few days, Deho watched as the news spread. The video of the confrontation was everywhere. The footage of Hyunwoo's team arresting the Vrellans was everywhere. And most viewed of all was the original recording of a blind human teenager being attacked and abandoned by aliens who thought he didn't matter. The galactic community's reaction was mixed. Some species expressed outrage that humans had been hiding their capabilities. Others expressed quiet approval that someone was finally standing up to the syndicate. A few, including some human rights organizations, started calling for investigations into crimes against humans on other stations and worlds. Earth's government made an official statement. They acknowledged that yes, they had been developing advanced technology, yes, they had military forces that were more capable than previously known, and yes, they would be using those forces to protect human citizens anywhere in the galaxy. The Vrellan government tried to spin it as human aggression, but it was hard to make that case when the evidence clearly showed their own people committing crimes first. The Galactic Council called for an emergency session to discuss the situation. Through it all, Daeho stayed in the cargo bay with Hyunwoo's team, watching history unfold because of something he'd done. It was overwhelming. 1 week after the arrest, Hyunwoo called him into a private meeting. "I have something to show you," the commander said. He brought up a display showing dozens of young humans all wearing UTF cadet uniforms, all looking determined and confident. "These are recruits for a new program we're starting," Hyunwoo explained. "It's designed for young humans who have been victims of alien aggression. We're going to train them, educate them, and give them the tools they need to make sure they're never helpless again. I want you to join them." Daeho stared at the images. These could have been his fellow orphans. Kids who'd been hurt, who'd been told they didn't matter, who'd learned to make themselves small just to survive. "Why me?" he asked. "I'm blind. I can't be a soldier." "You're not blind anymore," Hyunwoo said, gesturing to the cane. "And I'm not asking you to be a soldier. I'm asking you to be something more important. A symbol, living proof that humans can overcome anything if given the right tools and training." "A symbol," Daeho repeated. "Do you remember what I said when I gave you the cane?" Hyunwoo asked. Daeho thought back to that moment in the corridor. 3 words that had changed everything. "Remember their faces." "That's right." "And do you know why I said that?" "Because the cane could record them. That's part of it. But there's more. I said it because I needed you to remember that moment. The moment when you were helpless and hurt and ignored. Because that's the moment that would drive you to make sure it never happened again. Not to you. Not to anyone." Hyunwoo walked to the window overlooking the station. "You asked why I gave you the cane, why I chose you specifically. It's because you were in the right place at the right time, yes. But also because I saw something in the way you handled yourself. Even beaten down, even blind and alone, you tried to protect that package you were carrying. You tried to do the right thing. That's the kind of person we need." He turned back to Daeho. "The galaxy is changing. Because of what happened here, humans everywhere are going to start demanding better treatment. But change is hard, and there will be resistance." Daeho thought about the orphans in his quarters. He thought about the 3 humans,